introduction.
That bill is set down for first reading. The House now comes to questions for oral answer, and the first question stands in the name of Kevin Hague.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is for the Prime Minister and asks, does he stand by the answers given on his behalf to all my questions in the House on Thursday, 22nd of March?
The Honourable Gerry Brownlee on behalf of the Prime Minister.
On behalf of the Prime Minister, yes.
Kevin Hague.
Given his answers that no further independent inquiry was needed into matters to do with ACC and that the Prime Minister had conducted his own investigation, what was the nature of his private investigation and what evidence did this investigation consider?
The Honourable Gerry Brownlee.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Prime Minister, the answer given on the previous day in the House was that the Prime Minister had considered this matter along with Dr Smith in relation to the Cabinet Manual and responsibilities to ministers when it comes to conflict of interest.
Kevin Hague.
Did the Prime Minister's private investigation ascertain whether his previous Minister, Nick Smith, had intervened in any other ACC claims besides Ms Puller's?
The Honourable Gerry Brownlee.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Prime Minister, I can't answer that question. What I can say is that the matter related to the former Minister's handling of the case as it related to requirements of the Cabinet Manual. That was the Prime Minister's primary investigation, and ultimately the Minister paid a very high price for the decision that they both agreed on.
Kevin Hague. Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr. Speaker, I think you might have clicked at the point that I did. As the Minister said on behalf of the Prime Minister, I think he might have meant that because he's answering on behalf of the Prime Minister, he can't answer the first part of the question. I think it's relatively important because otherwise the Prime Minister is on record as saying that he didn't look into or he didn't know about the other private matters.
I appreciate the intervention from the member. If the Honourable Gerry Brownlee wished to clarify that, he's welcome to do so, but he doesn't have to.
Mr. Speaker, for sake of clarity, the second part of that question can be on part of the Prime Minister, but I'm not in a position to answer on the Prime Minister's behalf on the first part of it.
Kevin Hague.
Did the Prime Minister's private investigation consider the 45-point list of serious legislation, guidelines and code breaches by ACC raised by Brownlee Puller?
The Honourable Gerry Brownlee.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not able to answer that question on behalf of the Prime Minister.
Kevin Hague.
Did the Prime Minister's private investigation look into who leaked Bronwyn Puller's name to the media and whether this leak originated in a government minister's office or from ACC itself?
The Honourable Gerry Brownlee.
Mr. Speaker, point of order.
Point of order, the Honourable Gerry Brownlee.
Mr. Speaker, the member keeps referring to the Prime Minister's private investigation. Mr. Speaker, from the answers that were given relating to the primary questions here today, answers given to all questions asked by that member in the House on the 22nd of March, I think that's an interesting sort of leap for him to take. But in answer to the question, I'm not able to answer that on behalf of the Prime Minister.
Well, we've got a slight difficulty there, and the Minister sought a point of order, and which was not really a point of order because the member asked a question, and the Minister has now answered the question insofar as he says he's not able to answer the question. But the member's entitled to ask his questions. He made it clear in his first supplementary question that the Prime Minister had made reference to an investigation in his previous answers. And the member's entitled to ask questions. Whether the Minister can answer them is another matter, of course, acting on behalf of the Prime Minister. But there was not an appropriate point of order. Supplementary question, Grant Robertson.
Has the Prime Minister asked, as part of his investigations, the Minister for ACC who she believed leaked the information about Bronwyn Puller to the media?
The Honourable Gerry Brownlee.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Prime Minister, no.
Kevin Hague. Kevin Hague.
Supplementary. Did the Prime Minister's private investigation determine when ACC Chair John Judge first learned about the massive breach of confidentiality that had occurred, the potential involvement of the Minister, the then Minister, and the very serious claims Ms Puller was making about failure of good process.
The Honourable Gerry Brownlee.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Prime Minister, there are a number of questions inside the member's question that I think conflate a number of different points along the way in this particular story. What I can confirm is that investigations were made into the propriety of the reference written by Dr Smith. It did not meet the standards that were set and expected, and therefore the Minister has resigned.
Kevin Hague.
Given his response to these questions today and the fact that neither the Privacy Commissioner's inquiry nor the police inquiry can possibly consider any of them, will he not support calls for an independent investigation to these wider matters? Or does he have another reason for trying to prevent these matters from being independently investigated?
The Honourable Gerry Brownlee.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Prime Minister, there is no attempt at all to hide anything in these cases, and I resent the Minister's implication that that is what is happening.
Question number 2, Grant Robertson.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My